All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64. I am going to go live tonight and I'm going to do something a little different. Bring your piece of the puzzle. I'm in Discord and a lot of people don't know how to use Discord or not in Discord are making amazing comments about dates and times. And I get emails and I rarely have time. I'm a one-man show and I have a full-time job and I just sometimes I just don't have the time. But tonight I'm going to put aside maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're going to go over some dates. Keep in mind tonight, I do believe the timeline is accurate. I do believe Passover has passed, but something dawned on me in my spirit that said Jesus celebrated all of the feast days when the Jews did. And I know they're wrong, and I'm going to prove that tonight. Real fast and easy. 150 days after the flood is Passover. Has to be. They say the flood happened this year on October the 8th, so Passover is March the 30th. Every now and again, and it'll line back up in 2025, the timeline of the Jews will line up with Enoch's timeline at the beginning of the year. This year, it lined up at the end. It can never line up in both the beginning, the whole year can never line up. It can only line up for a 6 month period. You'll remember everything lined up beginning at the Feast of Trumpets and Yom Kippur, all that lined up, Feast of Tabernacles, all that lined up all the way through the Festival of Trees. And then as soon as we got to, um, what's the one that's 30 days before Passover? My mind. It is, let me go look so I don't keep guessing here. Festival of Trees, Purim. Sorry about that. Purim. Purim was moved 23 days. The Festival of Trees, between the Festival of Trees, you can see it's 30 days. It's always 30 days. But somehow they added 23 days to the calendar. So in 2025, and I've got some information showing that they will celebrate Passover on March 30th. It'll be accurate in 2025 when they do that. So, what happened? Jesus gave us this little clue when he said, "Oh, they're not 12 hours a day," and in fact, that does happen on March 16th. The next day would be um, Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the year, and then you count 14 days to March 30th. So I have a feeling, and I don't know, I haven't, I it's impossible really to use the Gregorian calendar and count back 2,000 years because it's even off by 11 seconds a year. So you don't know if it's a day off and exactly when things landed back then. It might be a day off back then. So it's impossible really to count back. But I can tell you this. They called Rosh Hashanah the day of the eclipse. Well, if you add 14 to the day of the eclipse, which was on the 8th, you'll wind up on the 22nd. That's accurate if that was Rosh Hashanah, but it's not. They spotted the first sliver of the moon on the 10th. The next day on the 11th, which was yesterday, you would count 14 days. And that would mean that Passover would have to land on the 25th. But now they are 3 days late. 3 days sure does sound an awful lot like the 3 days that Jonah spent. And again, when we count the time Jesus was on the cross, he was on the cross and then he gave up the ghost at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Time didn't begin to count till he spent a full 3 days and a full 3 nights. He did not spend a full day on Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That time began to count at night. God tells us that in Genesis, that and the night and the day were the first day. He starts counting that night. He does all of this hidden details on purpose so that you can figure it out. So the 72 hours, the 3 days and 3 nights, end at nightfall on Saturday. It becomes Sunday. But the Bible records that the women ran down there and Jesus rose. It doesn't say Jesus rose, it says they ran down there before sunup. Remember, their Passover time was done at sunset on Saturday, but they went early in the morning and they found the tomb empty. I don't think Jesus came out of the tomb at as soon as the sun set at 6 o'clock and sat around until 3 o'clock in the morning when they got there. I think he rose at 3 o'clock in the morning, 84 hours. We see this 84 hours all over the place. And I think the same thing happened with Jonah. Jonah spent a period of time running from God. He ran from God. He got on a boat. It took them time. There's even an extra biblical account. And I've heard other people, I read this before, and I've heard other people now making videos on this account. And remember, and I've had to argue this several times, the Bible is for salvation. The most important thing is salvation. Once you're saved and you begin to peel back the layers of the Bible, now you can go to extra biblical books. Your most important detail of your entire life, because your life is nothing but a grain of sand on a beach. It's tiny, it's finite. You're going to live, there is no death. You understand that? Just the physical body dies, but the spirit, the soul lives on for all eternity. Where are you going to live? Where are you going to want to live? You can choose not to believe any of this stuff until it happens. And then once you see what we've been talking about actually transpire, which by the way, if you look around, it's all transpiring right now. It's all coming to pass, just like the Bible said it would. It's all happening right in front of us. But those that are, they're blind to it. They are not even watching. They aren't even paying attention to what's going on. So they're missing out on the first leg of the race. We're seeing the finish line. They haven't even begun the race yet. They haven't even passed the starting line yet, and that's a shame. That's a real shame because they're going to have a lot of catching up to do once the rapture occurs. But once you get past that, and you start to peel back layers, then go into the book of Enoch, the legend of the Jews, the antiquity of the Jews, the book of Jasher. You go in and read these accounts, and you'll find that actually um, Jonah, they lowered Jonah into the water. And as soon as Jonah's feet touched the water, everything calmed down. And then they're like, yay, and they pulled him back in. And it went crazy again. The waters went crazy. And what does this remind us of? The seas and the waves roaring. In the book of Luke, there's a telltale sign of when we're going, and that is going to be when the waves and the seas are roaring. I think that's the last thing that needs to happen. And so they dropped him down again. They rose him up, dropped it 3 times. They set him down into the water until the final time, or maybe it was the third time they threw him in, or they dropped him 3 times and brought him back up. But each time they recognized that they had to do this. And once they did this, and remember, Jonah was swallowed for 3 days. So but the seas were calm, and that boat went on to areas like Nineveh and said, "You won't believe what just happened." And then Jonah shows up, and they're like, "He's alive. Jonah is alive, just like Jesus when he came out of the tomb. He's alive. It wasn't fake. He's alive." Jonah is the story that he's giving to the wicked generation. That is going to happen after we're gone. So, and that's a little basis of what I want to talk about tonight. And I would like to keep the comment section filled with math, and and we have a few hours because I think I'm going to do this probably, I don't know, 7 o'clock tonight is when I'll start it. 6. I don't know. My wife's inside getting her nails done. I know, right? I like it when she gets her nails done. I'm just kidding. But I would like you to bring your A game, your math, and Just think about this for a second. The, God is going, Jesus did abide by what they called were the feast days. In 33 and a half years of his life, they were hardly ever right, but he still did. And as a matter of fact, on the day that Jesus was peeling back corn and giving it to the apostles, and the Sadducees came along and rebuked him for it, I have a feeling that Jesus knew it wasn't actually a Sabbath. It was an off day. It was the Enoch. The book of Enoch warns that because they follow the moon, that they will make a good day unholy and an unholy day a good day. They will mix them up. So I have a feeling that that wasn't Saturday that that was happening. So bring your game, bring your math, and let's try to keep focused on the math. And let's pay attention to Jonah, because this is the sign to the wicked generation. This is the sign that they will figure out once we're gone. And you've got about 84 hours from the time Jonah decided to go against what God wanted, and finally to get spit up on the shore and to walk through Nineveh for 3 days, warning them that in 40 days God was going to destroy Nineveh. And there's, I think, Aaron over at God a Minute did some work on that and found that there was a an eclipse, or a blood moon or something at that time, which very telling. I love Aaron's math. I wish, I wish I knew how to bring somebody on. I guess Patrick over at End Time Watchman is doing a video today also, with someone, which is awesome. I just don't know how to do it. I'd love to join him, because he is so good at the math, and that's a little bit, Patrick. If you're watching this, you could work on your video with whomever. You didn't reveal who you were going on with tonight, but think about that for a second. That 84 hours that he spent before he walked a 3 days journey through Nineveh. So think about that. 3 days through Nineveh. That's there's something in there. The Jews think that Passover begins at the nightfall on the 22nd. But guess what? If you do the math correctly, Rosh Hashanah should have been yesterday, the 11th. You add 14 days, that's the 25th. They are off by 3 days. So there's something in there. And I want to explore that a little bit tonight with everyone. So, all right, Repo Man 64, remember, more importantly, as we go through this math and we try to figure this out, um, more importantly is your salvation. You're going to live an eternity somewhere. Think about that. Real hard. Think about that. You will live for an eternity somewhere. And I pray that you have made that choice if you haven't made it yet during the tribulation. Um, Being concerned about the tribulation saints is something I'm concerned about, because I know a lot of people who are tribulation saints. It's evident, it's obvious, it's in the way they speak. They say, I won't believe until I see the rapture happen. I mean, that's a tribulation saint. That's a doubting Thomas. That's the exact definition of them. Just because you're watching, I made this comment in 2 videos ago, and I had to fix it. Just because you're not watching, if you've given your life to Christ, yes, you're going. That's not, you'll lose a crown. You won't get a crown for the loving of his coming. But you're still going, because you've surrendered everything to Jesus. You know that there's nothing you can do. He's offered you a cup and you drank from it, and that is salvation, not watching. However, if you're watching and trying to figure this out, what I meant before, when everyone got upset, should never get upset at me. I will misspeak all the time. But my intent was that if in fact you are watching and dreaming of that day, it is, and I can never determine who's saved and who's not. That's not my place. It's not my job. It's a job I would never want. That's God's job. And wow, what a job that must be, there. Because when you do wind up, or not you, but when someone winds up in hell, they will have made an absolutely abundantly clear choice that that's where they wanted to go. I hear people joking about it all the time. I kind of want to go there because I think heaven's boring. I want to be in hell. You have no idea what you're saying and what you're asking. You're as ignorant about Jesus as you are about how horrifying hell will be. And I can't even believe somebody thinks that way, but they do. They're out there. So the cup is being offered, and it's so simple. It's literally the simplest thing on the planet to do, and that is kneel down. You don't know him. You've never talked to him. You don't even know how to pray. You don't know what to do, but you do know this: without him, because there's only one way to heaven. He's the only guy who died and was risen. No, none of these other religions leader ever died and rose. None of them. Only Jesus did that. And every religion recognized that Jesus Christ was here and that he died on a cross and that the rumor has it that he rose. Every religion recognizes that. So they're already at an advantage over somebody who completely denies his existence in the Bible, some storybook that somebody wrote just to keep mankind in line. It's a dangerous path. Again, it's so simple, so simple. Just kneel down and ask. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody. And I say that because it's not a prideful moment. All right, it's not a joking moment. It's between you and your creator. Just go in there and ask in your own way. I don't know you. I have never sensed you in my life, but I'm hearing this guy say to do this, and I know if I am to stand trial right now, I would go to hell. And that right there is probably the best prayer you can pray right now before the rapture occurs. Probably the best prayer you can pray after the rapture occurs. So, and then a great multitude will be saved after the rapture, so huge that no man can count. So I do believe that these videos are going to make it through, and I do believe that a massive group of people are going to come to Christ in the simplest form, in the most innocent, childlike, simplest form, a prayer of a child. Just, I'm doomed without you. Could you just see your way to saving me, a dirty sinner? I know the first step, of course, is to know that you're a sinner. I'm better than that person. Yeah, but you're not Jesus. You're not perfect. So you're not. Doesn't matter. One sin, a million sins. Doesn't matter. So anyway, let me stop rambling on. We'll go live tonight. Like I said, bring your math. Start working on it now because I want to see some comments about revolving around what I just said, and perhaps we can articulate it into a clear thought tonight. That and again, this is fun. This is fun. Let's go through this and try to figure this out. So, all right, let me get going. My daughter just showed up with her husband, and they're going to go in there. I hope he doesn't get his nails done. He's not. I'm just kidding. My daughter's going in there with my wife. I'm going to go over to the pharmacy and pick up my wife's medication, and I'll see you guys tonight.